Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank, coming to you live from Summit Academy. And in this video, we're going to be working on that Unit 3 lesson number 10 now. And so it says at the top, it says, find some values for A and B that make each side have the same value. So if I'm looking at that first one, I'm saying that A over B should equal 2. So if I'm looking at that, I'm saying some options I could have. Again, think, pair, share first. So pause the video, work with your partner, come up with some values of A and B such that when you divide A by B, it equals -2. For example, I could say, so for number 1, I could say something like if I let A be 6 and B be -3, I would say that's equal to -2. And just make sure that you are plugging those values in and making sure it equals that value. Then I could say another example for number 2. I'm trying to get +2 this time, so maybe I can use those same values. But I could even say something like -8 divided by -4 is equal to +2. So try to come up with your own values for these options. And then for number 3, I could say something like 6 minus 8 equals -2. So again, any of those options would work, but what I want you to do is pause and let me try writing that again. Pause and think, pair, share with partner, other answers. All right, so now that you shared with your partner, I can write some of those on the board, but if we are looking at the next one, for the next part, it says plot the points 11,1 and 8,2, and you then use a ruler, or a straight edge, that protractor that you have, to pass or draw a line that goes through those points. So let me plot those points. So I'm going to say, let me actually do green again. So I'm going to plot the points. I have 1 step to the right, 11 steps up. And I can say I have, excuse me, then I can say I have, for 8,2, I have 8 steps to the right and 2 steps up. So now that I have those 2 points, I can draw a line through. So let me see if we can do this real quick for you guys. Draw a line through those points. Something like this maybe. But let me change these around. Something like that maybe. Sure. So again, notice how it passes through both points. We're trying to figure out what would be the slope of that line. So it says without calculating, do you expect the slope of the line through the points 1, 11 and 8,2 to be positive or negative? So what do you think? Well, if I'm looking at this, as my x values increase, meaning as I move to the right, what's happening? Well, I'm going down the stairs. So I'm saying for number 2, this would be, I think it's negative. I'll write this, I think it is negative. You gotta say why. You can say since the line is going down and to the right. So as you're looking at your values, just make sure you're saying, hey, what's happening to my graph? Well, it's as I move to the right, what's happening? It's going down or up? Well, for this case, it's going down, so I'm going to say it is negative. And so for this one, excuse me, for number 3, it says calculate the slope of this line. A couple ways to do this. So one way is, let me write these points. So this is 1, 11, and this is the point 8, 2. So you can either do it like this. I can draw my slope triangle. So I can find my change. So let me actually define slope. Again, let's say it like this. So let me say slope. Regardless of how you do it, it's always like this. It's always going to be the change in y divided by the change in x. And so what I need to do is I can find my values. So if I go from one point to next, I draw my triangle. So I would say something like this. It doesn't really be perfect, but how many steps did I go down? Well, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps down. So I'd say minus 9. Again, be mindful. Again, notice how I'm going down to the next point. And then I'd say for my change in x, which way am I going? Well, I go to the right. I'd say go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. So I'd say I'd have plus 7. So my change in y, so let me write it like this, I'd say equals, my change in y is minus 9. My change in x is going to be plus 7. So either way, so make sure you can write it like this, and so you can write your slope like that. So that's one way of solving it. If you want to just use the points, I can use the points and say, I could use the points, let me write it like this. I would say 1, 11, and I'd write 8, 2. Do the same kind of step. I'm going to say my change in y. I'd say my change in y is minus 9 because 11 minus 9 is 2. And I'd say my change in x is going to be plus 7 because 1 plus 7 is 8. So just make sure if you want to write it as an ordered pair and see your change almost like you're using a table, that's fine. Or if you want to use the triangle method, either way works as long as you are calculating it carefully. Again, feel free to choose one of those two, stick with it, ask questions as you need. All right, so now for the rest of the page, it says lesson 10 practice, and for each of these, I will do one, however, you have to do the rest. So I will do one of these, and you have to do the rest. So for the first one, it says for each graph, calculate the slope. So I will show you, again, both ways. I'm going to show the triangle first. So let's go, we move up, down, left, right. I would have to say this is minus 2. And this is plus 6. So I could write it as a fraction. I'm going to say my slope could be negative 2 over 6, which is the same as negative 1 over 3. So make sure you can reduce those fractions for yourself. That way you get those points. If you wanted to write it like an ordered pair, I'd have the ordered pairs 2, 6, and the other ordered pairs 8, 4. Find your change in y. My change in y is minus 2. My change in x is plus 6. And so I'd write my ratio. Still always have to write it as a fraction, so it has to be negative 2 over 6, but it still gives you the same answer. So whether you use the triangle or if you use the ordered pair, it is up to you. So let me write that. So use triangle, meaning your side lengths, or ordered pairs. And your ordered pairs are an x value and a y value, like I have right here. On number 2 on the back, the directions are match each pair of points to the slope of the line that joins them. So what you're doing is you're finding the slope of these points, and notice how if you there is no graph, so I can't do the triangle method for this one, but luckily I have another way of solving it. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to write my 2 ordered pairs. So again, feel free to use all the space. So use all space on page to right to show work. Okay. So for that first one, it says I have the order pair 9, 10, and I have the order pair again. Order pair is X and Y. I have the order pair, other order pair is 7, 2. And so my change in Y is going to be minus 8. My change in X in blue is minus 2. And so what you can do, write that as a ratio. And so I'm going to say negative 8 over negative 2 is the same as positive 4. So make sure you can calculate it. If you wanted to write your ordered pairs like this, you could have wrote it the other way and say 7, 2 and 9, 10, and it still would have been the same. So you have 8, so this is plus 8, and this is plus 2. It would still give you the same answer because this is also equal to positive 8 over positive 2. So either way works, again, as long as you are picking 2 points that go through that line. So for this one, I would say match it with A. And then for the number 3, one more I'll do with you, is to draw a line with the given slope through the given point. What other points are on that line? So it says for that part A, use point A. So I found point A, and it says have a slope of negative 3. And what does that mean? Well, when I have a slope of negative 3, that means 3 down, 1 right. So if you ever need to write it, like this, you certainly can. So I'm going to plot some points. So I'm going to count 3 down. So I count 1, 2, 3, and then 1 to the right. Do that same pattern, 3 down, 1 to the right, 3 down, 1 to the right. Be careful there. So 3 down, 1 to the right, 3 down, 1 to the right. Accidentally went 1 step over. So even that little change, it will mess you up. So make sure that you are taking it 1 step at a time for yourself. So now that I have that, I can draw my line. So I draw my line like so. So let's do it like this. So go from A through B, through that point B. And now I can say, all right, what do I have? Well, the other point that it goes through, I would say this point also goes through the point B. And so make sure that you use other colors for other lines. So be able to draw those points, draw a line through it, see what other point lies on that line. For number 4, real easy. Come up with the equation using a slope of 4 and a negative y-intercept. You have a couple options with that one. Feel free to ask questions as you need to. Otherwise, be sure to pause, rewind, ask questions as needed, and as always, super slam that subscribe button.